Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be looking at something pretty fascinating. The connection between how our brain works, how we perform, and how we grow as people. And we're really lucky to have an amazing expert with us.
Yeah, this is going to be a great one.
To guide us through all this, Anna. And she has such a unique perspective on this topic because she's a former elite athlete who went from just crushing it in the pool to studying neuroscience.
I mean, that's quite a transition,
Yeah,
right?
really.
From the pool to the lab.
Yeah.
But it makes sense when you hear her story. What's so interesting about Anna is she didn't just read about the brain in textbooks.
Mm-hmm.
She really experienced firsthand how much our mental state can impact our performance.
So true.
She's just a swimmer,
Yeah.
a competitive swimmer. She had all the physical talent, the dedication. But she struggled with her performance. Sometimes she'd just kill it, and other times it was like something was holding her back.
It's almost like that classic story of someone who seems to have it all, the talent, the drive, but something isn't quite clicking.
Exactly. And eventually she realized it wasn't her body that was holding her back, it was her mind.
Wow.
It was her mental game that was making all the difference.
So she decided to take things into her own hands and figure out what was going on up there.
Literally.
Yeah.
She dove headfirst into the world of neuroscience.
I love that.
To really understand how her own brain was working.
Talk about a proactive approach to self-improvement.
Seriously. And get this. She went on to Open Mind Studio.
I've heard of this.
Which she calls a gym and spa for the brain.
I love that analogy.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
It really captures the idea that we need to train our minds, just like we train our bodies.
It makes so much sense.
And just like our bodies need rest and recovery, our minds do too.
Oh, absolutely. We spend so much time focusing on, physical fitness, eating right, exercising. But what about mental fitness? It's like we forget that our brains need a workout too. Anna's story really highlights how important it is to train our brains so we can perform at our best, not just in, sports or competition, but in all areas of life.
Exactly, in everything we do.
So let's talk about some of the things that Anna uncovered about the brain. Things that can help us, everyday people, not just elite athletes.
Okay, so one of the most fundamental things she talks about is how our brains are actually wired for survival.
Survival?
Not necessarily for happiness.
That's interesting.
They're constantly scanning for potential threats. It's like we have this built-in negativity bias.
So you're saying, even though most of us aren't facing life or death situations on a daily basis, our brains are still kind of stuck in that caveman mode, always looking out for danger.
Exactly. It's like our brains are still looking out for those saber-toothed tigers.
Wow.
Even though we haven't seen one, outside of a museum in ages. It's called the negativity bias. And back in the day, it was essential for survival. You had to be on high alert to avoid getting eaten or whatever.
Makes sense.
But in today's world, it can actually lead to a lot of unnecessary stress and anxiety.
Yeah, I can see that. Because it's like our brains are wired to focus on what could go wrong instead of what could go right.
Exactly.
No wonder so many of us struggle with, things like self-doubt and performance anxiety.
It's like our default setting is worry.
Right. So how do we overcome this negativity bias? Can we rewire our brains or something?
Well, that's where Anna comes in. She's developed some incredibly effective strategies to help us manage this negativity bias and shift into a more positive, opportunity-focused mindset.
So there's hope.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, I'm all ears. One of the most powerful techniques she uses is called reliving past successes.
Reliving past successes? Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's all about tapping into the power of visualization.
Okay.
So even if you're facing a brand new challenge, take a moment to vividly recall a time when you succeeded at something similar.
Like close my eyes and really imagine it.
Yeah, exactly. Close your eyes and really immerse yourself in that experience. Remember how it felt, what you saw, what you heard, even what you smelled.
So it's not just about remembering that you succeeded. It's about really reliving the emotions and the sensations associated with that success.
Exactly. Because when you do that, your brain doesn't necessarily differentiate between the real experience and the imagined one.
It's like you're tricking your brain into feeling that confident all over again.
In a way, yes. You're basically giving yourself a mental confidence boost.
I can see how this could be so helpful, especially when you're facing something that feels really intimidating or overwhelming.
Right.
It's like reminding yourself, hey, I've totally got this. I've been here before, and I rocked it.
Exactly. You've got the experience. You've got the skill.
I love that.
And another technique Anna uses is called anchoring.
Anchoring, okay.
Think of it like creating a mental shortcut. to a positive state of mind.
Anchor's shortcuts.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little lost here.
Yeah. Okay, let me break it down for you. Imagine this. You have a specific scent, a song, or even like a physical object that you associate with feeling calm, confident focus.
Got it.
It could be anything that evokes a positive emotional response for you.
So like the smell of freshly baked cookies.
Right.
Reminding you of happy childhood memories.
Exactly. That could be an anchor. Whenever you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, you can trigger that anchor. Like smell the cookies, listen to the song, touch the object, and it can actually shift your brain into a more positive state.
So it's like training your brain to associate that specific sensory experience with a positive feeling.
Exactly.
Like Pavlov's dogs, but instead of drooling, we're triggering calmness and focus.
Exactly. You got it.
That's fascinating.
And Anna actually uses this technique herself. When
Yeah.
she was writing her book, she created what she calls a concentration bubble for herself, using a specific candle and tea ritual.
That's so smart. It's like creating a little mental sanctuary for yourself, a space where you can really get into the zone.
Exactly.
I love that idea.
It's a simple but powerful technique. And the great thing is anyone can use it. You just have to identify the anchors that work best for you.
I'm definitely going to be on the lookout for some good anchors. I think that could be really helpful.
Me too.
This is all so interesting.
I know, right?
Can't wait to dive into more of Anna's insights.
Me neither.
All right, let's take a quick break. And we'll be right back with more from our deep dive into the world of the brain and performance.
Sounds good. So we've been talking about how powerful our thoughts and emotions can be,
Yeah.
and how they can really affect our performance. But it's not just about what's going on inside our heads.
Right.
Anna also talks a lot about the importance of managing what she calls our external energy.
External energy. Okay, so internal energy is about, managing our thoughts and emotions.
Yeah.
But what exactly is external energy? Are we talking about like auras and vibes and stuff?
Not quite that mystical, but you're on the right track. Think of it as being mindful of the people and environments that either energize or drain you.
Okay, I can see that.
We've all experienced that feeling of being around someone who just like sucks the energy out of the room.
Oh, yeah.
Or being in a place that makes you feel anxious or depleted.
Totally. It's like that feeling you get after spending time with someone who's constantly complaining or being negative. You walk away feeling exhausted, even if you weren't physically doing anything.
Exactly. And on the flip side, we all know people who just radiate positive energy. They lift you up and inspire you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So Anna encourages us to be more intentional about who we spend our time with and the environments we choose to be in.
So it's like being a curator of your own energy ecosystem. You want to surround yourself with things and people that nourish and support you, and minimize exposure to the things that drain or deplete you.
Exactly.
It's a great way to put it.
And, instead of labeling people as toxic, which can be kind of a loaded term, Anna suggests focusing on how their energy affects you personally.
I like that.
If someone consistently brings you down, it's okay to set boundaries and limit your exposure to them, even if they're a close friend or family member.
So it's not about judging people or writing them off. It's about protecting your own well-being.
Exactly.
And sometimes that means being selective about who you let into your inner circle.
Right. And she even has this fascinating tip. For those times when you can't avoid being around someone whose energy is a bit draining,
Okay, I'm listening.
instead of facing them directly,
Yeah.
try positioning yourself at a slight angle.
What? Really?
Yeah. She says it can actually help minimize the impact of their energy field.
Okay, I've never heard that before, but I'm willing to try it.
It might sound a bit unconventional, but she said it can make a difference.
I'm definitely going to try that next time I'm stuck in a meeting with a negative Nancy.
Good idea.
You know what's funny? This whole conversation about energy reminds me of this time. I met someone at a party, and I instantly felt this strong dislike for them.
Oh, I've totally been there.
It wasn't anything they said or did. It was just this feeling I got, like my intuition was screaming danger.
It's amazing how often we pick up on those subtle energy cues,
Yeah.
even if our conscious minds aren't aware of them.
Totally. It was like my energy knew something that my mind hadn't caught up with yet.
Sometimes our energy is smarter than we are.
I think you're right.
And speaking of intuition, Anna also talks about the pros and cons of perfectionism, which can be a huge energy drain for a lot of people.
Ugh, perfectionism, my old nemesis. I've definitely struggled with that in the past. Always striving for flawlessness, and then beating myself up when I fall short.
It's a common struggle.
It really is.
Anna acknowledges that perfectionism can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can drive us to achieve great things,
Right.
but it could also lead to burnout procrastination. and a fear of failure.
It's like that saying, perfect is the enemy of good. We get so caught up in trying to get everything exactly right that we end up getting stuck.
Exactly.
And we never actually finish anything.
Anna really emphasizes the importance of recognizing when good enough is truly good enough.
That's so hard, though.
I know it's easier said than done, but she encourages us to acknowledge and appreciate the positive aspects of our perfectionism.
So like what?
Like our attention to detail, our high standards,
Okay.
but also to learn to let go of the need for absolute perfection.
So it's about finding that balance between striving for excellence
Right.
and giving ourselves permission to be imperfect.
Exactly.
Definitely something I'm working on.
Me too. And this actually brings us to another one of Anna's areas of expertise, neurofeedback.
Oh, yes. Neurofeedback. This is where things get really high-tech and futuristic.
Right.
I actually had the opportunity to try it out at Mind Studio a while back.
No way.
And it was a pretty wild experience.
Really? Tell me everything.
Okay, so imagine this. I'm sitting in this comfy chair with electrodes attached to my scalp,
Okay.
and they tell me to just relax and watch a movie. But here's the catch. The size of the movie screen changes in response to my brainwave activity.
Whoa. So it's like you're controlling the movie with your mind.
In a way, yes. It wasn't like I was consciously trying to make the screen bigger or smaller, but it was definitely responding to what was happening in my brain.
So that's neurofeedback in action.
It is.
It's basically giving your brain real-time feedback about its own activities, like holding up a mirror to your mind, so it can see and adjust its own patterns.
That's a great analogy.
And the amazing thing is, with practice, your brain actually starts to recognize those patterns.
Yeah.
And it learns to self-regulate.
So it's like biofeedback, but for the brain.
Exactly.
That's incredible. And what I found really fascinating about Anna's approach at Mind Studio is that she creates personalized neurofeedback protocols based on individual needs and goals.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Everyone's brain is unique, so a one-size-fits-all approach wouldn't be very effective.
Right.
So someone struggling with anxiety would have a different protocol than someone who wants to improve their focus or creativity.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
And it's not just about addressing problems either. Neurofeedback can also be used to enhance performance and well-being in general.
Like a brain gym for everyone,
Totally.
from athletes to artists to entrepreneurs.
And what's really fascinating is, even experienced meditators can benefit from neurofeedback training.
I read about that. It can help them reach deeper, more sustained states of meditation.
I remember reading this article about a Buddhist Lama who was blown away by how much neurofeedback enhanced his meditation practice.
It's amazing. It really shows how much potential we have to change and grow our brains.
It really does.
So what was the biggest takeaway for you from your neurofeedback experience?
Honestly, it was just the realization that we have so much more control over our brains than we realize. For so long, I thought my brain was just this mysterious black box. But neurofeedback showed me that I can actually train it, just like I train my body.
That's a powerful realization.
It really is.
It's funny you should say that, because it really highlights one of the things I find most inspiring about Anna's work. It's not just for elite performers or people dealing with specific issues. It's for anyone. Anyone who wants to tap into their full potential, discover hidden talents, or just understand themselves better.
I love that. So she's not just working with like Olympic athletes and CEOs. She's helping everyday people unlock their hidden superpowers.
Exactly. And she actually has this really interesting exercise that she recommends. She suggests asking 3 people in your life what they think you're good at.
Just 3 people.
Yeah.
Is there something special about that number?
It's not about the exact number. It's more about the power of getting an outside perspective. You see, we're often blind to our own talents because they come so naturally to us.
Oh, I totally get that.
It's like we're too close to the forest to see the trees.
Yeah. It's like those times when someone gives you a compliment and you're like, really? You think I'm good at that?
Exactly.
We tend to downplay our strengths because they just feel effortless to us.
Right. But someone looking from the outside can see those strengths more clearly. And when you hear it from multiple people, it starts to sink in.
It's like getting feedback from your own personal board of directors, helping you to identify your strengths and maybe even uncover some hidden talents.
I love that analogy.
And you know what's great about this exercise? Is it's something that anyone can do.
Absolutely.
You don't need any special equipment or training, just a willingness to ask for feedback.
That's the key.
And be open to what you hear.
What do you think people might discover about themselves through this exercise?
I think they might be surprised by what they hear. They might discover they have a knack for problem solving or a hidden creative talent. or just a natural ability to connect with people, things they've always taken for granted because they come so easily to them.
That's what's so exciting about Anna's work. It helps us see ourselves and our potential in a whole new light.
I couldn't agree more.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Anna's world, what stands out to you as the biggest takeaway?
You know, for me, it's the realization that we have so much more power over our brains than we realize. We're not just victims of our circumstances or our genetics. We can actually train our brains to be more focused, more resilient, more creative.
You've hit the nail on the head.
It's empowering.
It is. Anna's story and her work are all about empowering us to take control of our mental well-being and unlock our full potential.
And if our energy can truly influence others, as she's shown through her research, it really makes you wonder, what kind of energy are we putting out into the world?
That's such a powerful question.
It is.
It's a reminder that we're all interconnected, and our energy, whether positive or negative, can have a ripple effect on those around us.
So how can we be a source of positive, uplifting energy for the people in our lives and for the world around us?
That's the question, isn't it? Food for thought.
It really is. A huge thank you to Anna for sharing her incredible insights with us today. It's been a fascinating journey into the world of the brain and how we can harness its power for growth and transformation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to all of you listening, remember, you have more power than you think.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. Until next time,